Rancher given a disabled black widow as a cruel joke, she became his everything. The Arizona sun beat down mercilessly on Wyatt Coulter's failing ranch. Dust swirled around broken fence posts and dying cattle. His weathered hands gripped the porch railing as he stared at another bill he couldn't pay. 3 years of drought had nearly finished him. In the town of Copper Falls, Sheriff Amos Clayton leaned back in his leather chair. Maps covered his desk showing railroad routes and mineral surveys. His associates nodded as he outlined their plan. Small ranchers like Coulter stood in the way of progress. They needed to be removed. Clayton's thin smile revealed his cruel idea. Every man had weaknesses. Coulter's was his loneliness. The sheriff had heard him complain about the isolation during his rare trips to town. A desperate man might accept help from anywhere. The plan was simple. They would deliver Eden Taylor to Coulter's ranch under the pretense of settling a debt. The widow was perfect for their purposes. Her disability and race guaranteed Coulter would reject her immediately. Then they could paint him as heartless and seize his land for abandoning his Christian duties. Eden Taylor sat in the back of the wagon as it approached the ranch. Her left leg ached from the accident that had claimed her mobility and her husband's life. She carried herself with quiet dignity despite understanding the cruel nature of her situation. The men who arranged this had made their intentions clear. Wyatt emerged from his house as the wagon stopped. The driver handed him a piece of paper and rode away without explanation. Eden remained seated, waiting. Her dark eyes met his with neither defiance nor submission. Wyatt read the document twice. According to the paper, Eden was payment for a debt he'd never incurred. His jaw tightened with anger at the obvious manipulation. Someone was playing games with both their lives. Eden slowly climbed down from the wagon. Her walking stick supported her as she gathered her few belongings. She said nothing but watched Wyatt's face carefully. She had nowhere else to go. In town, Lily Mee watched from her seamstress shop as word spread about the arrangement. The young woman had always questioned the harsh treatment of others. She quietly packed supplies in a basket. Wyatt helped Eden with her bags despite his confusion. The ranch was barely supporting him. Adding another person seemed impossible. Yet sending her away felt wrong too. Clayton's fingerprints were all over this situation. Eden examined the property with knowing eyes. She noticed the fence repairs and water management issues immediately. Her late husband had taught her about land and livestock. She kept these observations to herself for now. That evening, Lily Mee arrived with food and blankets. She defied social expectations by treating Eden with kindness. The two women understood they were both fighting against a system designed to keep them powerless. The trap had been set. Soon Clayton would spring it. The town's rejection came swiftly and completely. Hawkins at the general store turned his back when Wyatt approached the counter. The bank clerk suddenly found urgent paperwork when Eden limped through the door. Even the church pastor crossed the street to avoid them. Word spread through Copper Falls like wildfire. The arrangement at the Coulter Ranch scandalized proper society. Women whispered behind gloved hands. Men shook their heads in disgust. Sheriff Clayton watched it all with satisfaction. Eden faced the hostility with remarkable composure. Children threw rocks at her walking stick. Adults muttered cruel words just loud enough for her to hear. She never responded with anger. Her dignity remained intact even as the community tried to break her spirit. Wyatt's credit disappeared overnight. The feed store refused his business. The blacksmith claimed to be too busy for repairs. His cattle suffered as essential supplies became unavailable. The financial noose tightened around his neck exactly as Clayton had planned. Despite the mounting pressure, Eden quietly made improvements around the ranch. She repositioned water troughs for better efficiency. Her suggestions about fence placement fell on deaf ears, but she continued observing. At night, she worked by lamplight on mysterious calculations. Lily Mee became their lifeline to the outside world. She smuggled supplies in fabric deliveries. The seamstress moved carefully to avoid suspicion. Her visits brought news of the growing hostility in town. More importantly, they brought hope. Clayton escalated his campaign systematically. Anonymous threats appeared nailed to fence posts. Cattle went missing in the night. The sheriff investigated these incidents with theatrical concern while secretly orchestrating them. Each problem pushed Wyatt closer to financial ruin. Eden's presence at the ranch created practical challenges beyond social persecution. Food supplies stretched thin. Medical needs went unmet when the doctor refused house calls. Winter approached with insufficient preparations, yet she never complained or suggested leaving. The rustling incident marked Clayton's boldest move yet. 20 head of cattle vanished during a moonless night. Evidence pointed toward desperate financial circumstances. The sheriff arrived to investigate with knowing smirks from his deputies. Wyatt protested his innocence while Clayton documented the losses. The missing cattle represented devastating financial damage. Without them, the ranch couldn't survive winter. The sheriff's investigation was thorough enough to appear legitimate while accomplishing nothing. Eden watched the proceedings with sharp attention. She noticed details others missed. Hoof prints led in directions the investigation ignored. Fresh rope burns on fence posts suggested inside knowledge of the property. She filed these observations away with her growing collection of evidence. The town meeting was called to address the moral crisis. Pastor Williams reluctantly hosted the gathering under pressure from concerned citizens. The church filled beyond capacity. Clayton positioned himself prominently near the pulpit. Accusations flew before any formal discussion began. Decent folk couldn't tolerate such arrangements in their community. Property values would suffer. Children would be corrupted by bad examples. The rhetoric grew more heated as the evening progressed. Wyatt attempted to defend himself and Eden. His words carried little weight against the mob mentality. The crowd had already decided their guilt. Clayton allowed the anger to build before taking control of the situation. The sheriff stood slowly, commanding attention through authority rather than volume. He spoke of law and order, morality and community standards. His words carried the weight of official sanction. Eden became the focal point of his moral crusade. Clayton's threats grew specific and immediate. The arrangement violated numerous ordinances. Eden's presence constituted a public nuisance. Her behavior suggested mental instability requiring institutional intervention. The asylum awaited those who couldn't conform to community standards. Eden felt the walls closing around her as Clayton outlined his case. The crowd murmured approval for his measured approach to their shared problem. Wyatt's protests were drowned out by rising voices demanding action. She realized the moment for passive resistance had ended. Throughout these mounting crises, Eden continued her secretive work. Her papers filled with calculations and measurements. Maps emerged showing mineral deposits and water sources. Geological surveys revealed patterns invisible to untrained eyes. The tools of her survival lay hidden in plain sight. Lily Me documented the injustices through careful observation and note-taking. Her position as seamstress provided access to gossip and private conversations. She began corresponding with contacts beyond Copper Falls. Help might exist if it could be reached in time. The deadline approached with mathematical precision. Clayton gave them 1 week to resolve the situation voluntarily. After that, official intervention would become necessary. Eden would be removed for everyone's protection. Wyatt would face charges related to the missing cattle. Winter preparations became impossible under these circumstances. No supplies could be purchased. No help could be hired. The ranch faced certain failure even if they survived the immediate crisis. Clayton's trap was closing exactly as designed. Eden's nighttime work intensified as pressure mounted. Her calculations grew more complex and detailed. The papers she protected so carefully contained more than personal memories. They held the keys to survival and justice. Soon, she would be forced to reveal their contents. Wyatt began noticing Eden's quiet strength under extreme pressure. Her composure never cracked despite constant threats and humiliation. Something deeper sustained her beyond mere stubbornness. He started paying attention to her suggestions about ranch management. The final confrontation approached inevitably. Clayton's patience was ending. The community demanded action. Eden's time had run out. She would soon face the choice between revealing her secrets or accepting defeat. The cruel joke was about to backfire spectacularly. The church bell tolled 7 times as Copper Falls gathered for the decisive town meeting, every pew filled with angry faces demanding resolution. Sheriff Clayton sat prominently at the front, his badge catching lamplight like a warning. Pastor Williams wrung his hands nervously behind the pulpit. Wyatt and Eden entered through the back doors. Hostile stares followed their progress down the aisle. Children pointed while mothers pulled them closer. The weight of collective judgment pressed down like a physical force. Eden's walking stick tapped steadily against wooden floors. Clayton rose with theatrical authority. His voice carried the smooth confidence of a man holding all the cards. The situation had gone on too long. Decent folks deserved protection from moral corruption. Legal action was now required to preserve community standards. The sheriff outlined his case methodically. Eden's presence violated public decency ordinances. Her behavior showed signs of mental instability requiring professional intervention. The state asylum provided appropriate facilities for such cases. Removal would happen within 24 hours unless she left voluntarily. Murmurs of approval rippled through the crowd. Several voices called out support for Clayton's measured approach. Mrs. Henderson stood to praise his dedication to public welfare. Mr. Patterson nodded agreement about protecting property values from undesirable influences. Wyatt attempted to defend Eden, but his words carried little weight. The rancher's reputation had been systematically destroyed over recent weeks. Missing cattle suggested criminal desperation. His judgment was clearly compromised by isolation and financial pressure. Nobody trusted his protestations of innocence. Clayton's accusations grew more specific and damaging. The missing livestock represented serious criminal activity. Physical evidence suggested inside knowledge of ranch operations. Only someone familiar with the property could have executed such precision theft. The implications were obvious to everyone present. Eden remained silent through the mounting accusations. Her hands folded calmly over her walking stick. Dark eyes surveyed the hostile crowd without fear or submission. She appeared to be calculating something behind her composed expression. The time for passive endurance was ending. The sheriff played his final card with devastating effectiveness. Medical professionals had reviewed Eden's case based on community reports. Her refusal to acknowledge social realities indicated severe mental deficiency. Continued exposure to normal citizens posed legitimate public health risks. Immediate institutionalization was both legal and necessary. Pastor Williams cleared his throat uncomfortably. The church shouldn't be used for such proceedings. Christian charity demanded compassion for the unfortunate. Perhaps less drastic solutions existed. His weak protests were quickly shouted down by angrier voices. Clayton sensed victory within his grasp. The community demanded action. Legal authority supported removal. Eden had no defenders except a suspected cattle thief. Her time in Copper Falls was finished. The cruel joke had succeeded beyond his wildest expectations. Eden slowly rose from her pew. Her movement commanded immediate attention through sheer dignity and presence. The crowd fell silent as she retrieved a leather satchel from beneath her seat. Papers rustled as she withdrew carefully organized documents. Her voice cut through the tension like a blade. She spoke with calm authority about geological formations and mineral deposits. Mathematical calculations rolled off her tongue with practiced precision. Survey measurements and ore sample analyses filled the air with technical complexity far beyond the crowd's understanding. This was not the voice of mental deficiency. Hand-drawn maps emerged from her satchel with startling detail and accuracy. Underground water sources were marked with scientific notation. mineral veins traced across property boundaries with mathematical precision. Years of careful observation and calculation had produced professional-quality geological surveys. The crowd stirred uneasily as Eden's expertise became undeniable. Her knowledge of mining operations and land assessment was encyclopedic. Technical terminology flowed naturally from someone with deep professional experience. This woman was no helpless vagrant requiring institutional care. Eden's most devastating revelation concerned the missing cattle and suspicious accidents plaguing small ranchers. Her surveys showed mineral deposits exactly matching properties targeted for harassment. The timing of incidents corresponded perfectly with geological findings. Someone with inside knowledge was orchestrating a systematic land grab. Clayton's face darkened as Eden presented evidence of his corruption. Railroad route maps showed planned tracks crossing properties rich in copper and silver. Purchase agreements bore dates preceding the supposed discoveries. The sheriff had been using geological information to steal valuable claims through intimidation and fraud. Property deeds and mineral rights transfers painted a clear picture of organized criminal activity. Clayton's associates had acquired dozens of claims at artificially low prices after mysterious accidents befell their previous owners. The pattern was unmistakable to anyone examining the evidence objectively. Wyatt stared at Eden with growing amazement and respect. This remarkable woman possessed skills and knowledge far exceeding his own. Her quiet observations had uncovered a conspiracy of staggering proportions. The cruel joke had backfired beyond Clayton's worst nightmares. The sheriff attempted to dismiss Eden's evidence as fabricated nonsense. A disturbed woman might create elaborate fantasies to avoid facing reality. Mental patients often developed complex delusions involving persecution and conspiracy. Her documents proved nothing except the need for immediate psychiatric intervention. Eden calmly produced additional verification for every claim. Ore samples matched her geological predictions with scientific accuracy. Survey measurements corresponded exactly to government territorial maps. Independent verification existed for every major assertion. Her evidence was unassailable by any objective standard. Clayton's desperation became obvious as he demanded Eden's immediate arrest. Her documents were clearly forged. Territorial authorities would expose her deceptions under proper investigation. Public safety required removing such dangerous individuals from decent society. His authority as sheriff demanded immediate compliance. Lily Mee stepped forward from the crowd with quiet confidence. Her voice carried surprising authority as she announced correspondence with territorial officials. Copies of Eden's evidence had already reached the capital weeks earlier. Federal marshals were en route to investigate the documented corruption. Justice was finally coming to Copper Falls. The church doors burst open as 3 federal marshals entered with purposeful strides. Their badges gleamed under lamplight as they surveyed the tense crowd. Marshal Williams stepped forward, his weathered face stern with authority. The territorial government had received disturbing reports requiring immediate investigation. Clayton's confident demeanor cracked as the marshals approached. He attempted to maintain control by asserting local jurisdiction over community matters. Federal interference wasn't welcome or necessary. His authority as elected sheriff should be respected. The marshals ignored his protests and requested all relevant documentation. Eden handed over her geological surveys with calm professionalism. Marshal Williams examined the detailed maps and calculations with obvious expertise. His mining background allowed him to appreciate the precision and accuracy of her work. These weren't the fantasies of a disturbed mind but professional quality assessments. The federal investigation moved with swift efficiency. Property records were seized from Clayton's office. Bank documents revealed suspicious patterns of land acquisition and mineral rights transfers. Telegraph communications with railroad executives showed coordination between supposed separate entities. The conspiracy was larger than anyone had imagined. Territorial geological experts arrived within days to verify Eden's findings. Their field tests confirmed her mineral deposit predictions with remarkable accuracy. Underground water sources existed exactly where her maps indicated. The mathematical precision of her surveys impressed seasoned professionals with decades of experience. Clayton's associates began distancing themselves as federal pressure mounted. Businessman Patterson claimed ignorance of any illegal activities. Banker Morrison produced records showing coerced transactions. Former allies abandoned the sinking sheriff as evidence accumulated against him. Loyalty evaporated under legal scrutiny. The scope of corruption became clear through methodical investigation. 24 small ranchers had suffered mysterious accidents or harassment campaigns. Property acquisitions followed geological discoveries with suspicious timing. Railroad route planning incorporated inside knowledge of mineral deposits worth millions. The conspiracy spanned multiple territories and involved dozens of participants. Eden's credibility grew stronger with each verified prediction. Her knowledge of mining operations impressed federal experts. Technical discussion revealed deep understanding of geological processes and mineral extraction techniques. This woman possessed professional expertise equivalent to university-trained specialists. Wyatt watched these revelations with growing amazement and something deeper than respect. Eden's quiet strength had hidden extraordinary capabilities. Her dignity under persecution now seemed even more remarkable. She had endured systematic abuse while protecting evidence that could save dozens of families from ruin. The personal connection emerged during document review. Eden quietly presented Marshall Williams with a collection of letters and personal items. The correspondence was addressed to Samuel Taylor from family members named Coulter. Wedding photographs showed a younger version of Eden beside a man bearing striking resemblance to Wyatt. Wyatt examined the photographs with trembling hands. His brother Samuel had disappeared 15 years earlier after a bitter family dispute over inheritance. The young man had sworn to make his own way in the world. These documents proved he had succeeded before his untimely death. Eden's voice remained steady as she explained Samuel's fate. The mining accident that killed her husband and left her disabled had been deliberately caused. Claim jumpers working for Clayton's network had sabotaged support beams to steal valuable deposits. Samuel had died protecting claims that legally belonged to his widow. The truth of Eden's expertise became clear through this revelation. She hadn't just been Samuel's wife, but his full partner in geological assessment and mine operation. Her mathematical skills and scientific knowledge had driven their success. The accident had robbed her of mobility, but not intelligence or determination. Marshall Williams documented Eden's testimony with careful attention to detail. Her account of the sabotage provided crucial evidence linking Clayton to multiple murders disguised as accidents. The sheriff's network had killed dozens of claim owners to steal their properties. Justice had been delayed but not denied. Clayton made desperate attempts to escape as walls closed around him. He tried bribing federal marshals with promises of shared profits. Railroad connections offered lucrative positions in exchange for looking the other way. His desperation revealed the enormous financial stakes involved in the conspiracy. The community faced uncomfortable truths about their complicity in systematic injustice. Many had participated in Eden's persecution without questioning the motives behind it. Others had profited from the conspiracy through inflated land values and business opportunities. Moral reckoning proved more difficult than legal justice. Several townspeople approached Eden with awkward apologies. Mrs. Henderson admitted her harsh words had been motivated by jealousy rather than morality. Shopkeeper Davis offered to restore her credit immediately. The transformation wasn't universal, but it was significant enough to matter. Lily Mee's role in exposing the conspiracy earned recognition from federal authorities. Her careful documentation and communication network had been crucial to the investigation's success. The Postal Service offered her an official position overseeing territorial communications. Her talents for information gathering would serve legitimate purposes. Wyatt struggled with complex emotions as the full truth emerged. Grief for his lost brother mixed with admiration for Eden's survival and strength. Guilt over 15 years of estrangement combined with amazement at her capabilities. The woman he had initially seen as a burden was actually an extraordinary individual who had overcome incredible hardships. Eden's professional reputation spread rapidly through territorial mining circles. Government officials requested her services for comprehensive geological surveys. Mining companies offered lucrative consulting contracts. Her expertise was finally receiving the recognition it deserved after years of enforced anonymity. The legal proceedings against Clayton and his associates began with federal prosecutors confident of conviction. Evidence was overwhelming and testimony was compelling. Dozens of victims would finally receive justice. Property would be returned and financial compensation provided. The conspiracy was ending, but its consequences would resonate for years. Eden stood at the center of this transformation, no longer the helpless victim of a cruel joke, but a respected professional whose knowledge and courage had exposed widespread corruption. Her journey from persecution to vindication was nearly complete. Clayton's arrest became a spectacle that drew crowds from neighboring towns. Federal marshals led him away in shackles as his empire crumbled around him. Bank assets were frozen pending investigation. Properties were seized for victim compensation. The sheriff who had terrorized small ranchers now faced decades in territorial prison. His associates faced similar fates as the legal net tightened. Banker Morrison received 5 years for financial fraud. Businessman Patterson lost everything through asset forfeiture. The railroad executives faced federal charges that would end their careers. Justice moved swiftly once corruption was exposed. Eden watched the proceedings with quiet satisfaction rather than vindictive pleasure. Her focus remained on helping other victims recover their losses. Families who had suffered mysterious accidents finally learned the truth behind their tragedies. Widows discovered their husbands had died for valuable claims rather than random misfortune. The community transformation began slowly as residents faced uncomfortable truths about their behavior. Pastor Williams delivered sermons about judging others without understanding their circumstances. Mrs. Henderson publicly apologized to Eden during Sunday service. The grocer restored credit and offered fair treatment to all customers regardless of background. These changes weren't universal or immediate. Some townspeople remained hostile despite overwhelming evidence of Eden's integrity and intelligence. Others struggled to overcome years of prejudicial thinking. Progress happened gradually through individual conversations and personal recognition of past wrongs. Eden's geological expertise became the foundation for economic revival throughout the territory. Her surveys identified mineral deposits on dozens of properties. Small ranchers discovered valuable copper and silver beneath their struggling cattle operations. The knowledge that had exposed corruption now created legitimate prosperity. Wyatt's Ranch became the headquarters for a cooperative mining venture. Eden's assessments guided extraction efforts, while ranchers shared equipment and expertise. The same properties Clayton had tried to steal through intimidation now generated wealth for their rightful owners. Justice carried economic benefits beyond mere vindication. The cooperative structure ensured fair distribution of profits among participating families. Eden insisted on transparent accounting and democratic decision-making. Her experience with exploitation made her determined to prevent similar abuse within their organization. Trust and mutual benefit replaced the competition and suspicion that had made corruption possible. Lily Mee's appointment as postal supervisor gave her official authority over territorial communications. Her natural talents for gathering information and maintaining networks now served legitimate purposes. The federal government recognized her crucial role in exposing the conspiracy through expanded responsibilities and appropriate compensation. Wyatt found himself serving as the cooperative's public representative despite his previous isolation. His transformation from bitter hermit to community leader reflected the broader changes affecting Copper Falls. Eden's influence had helped him discover leadership abilities he never knew existed. Their partnership extended beyond personal affection to shared professional goals. The ranch's physical recovery mirrored these broader transformations. Fences were repaired using cooperative resources. Cattle herds expanded with mining profits. Water management improved through Eden's engineering knowledge. The property that had nearly failed now thrived through intelligent planning and community support. Eden's official appointment as chief territorial mining consultant came with significant salary and prestigious recognition. Government officials praised her comprehensive knowledge and practical expertise. University professors requested copies of her geological surveys for academic study. Her professional reputation now matched her actual capabilities. The personal relationship between Eden and Wyatt deepened as mutual respect grew into genuine affection. Their partnership had been forged through shared adversity and common purpose. Working together on ranch improvements and mining operations revealed complementary strengths and values. Love emerged naturally from professional collaboration and personal understanding. Wyatt's feelings evolved from protective instinct to admiring partnership to devoted love. Eden's courage and intelligence had transformed his understanding of strength and worth. Her dignity under persecution had taught him about real character. The woman delivered as a cruel joke had become his moral compass and intellectual equal. Eden discovered emotional healing through professional success and personal acceptance. The isolation and abuse she had endured were ending through community recognition and individual relationships. Wyatt's protection and support provided security she hadn't experienced since Samuel's death. Trust became possible again through consistent kindness and respect. Their working relationship showcased complementary abilities and shared values. Eden's scientific knowledge combined with Wyatt's practical experience to create effective solutions. Ranch management benefited from both geological expertise and agricultural wisdom. The partnership proved stronger than either individual effort alone. Community attitudes continued shifting as economic success validated Eden's contributions. Families who had scorned her now sought her professional services. Children who had thrown stones began greeting her respectfully on the street. Business owners competed for her patronage rather than refusing service. Economic necessity drove social change more effectively than moral arguments. The cooperative mining venture expanded beyond Copper Falls as word spread about its success. Other communities requested Eden's assessment services. Small ranchers throughout the territory formed similar organizations based on her cooperative model. The corruption that had oppressed individuals was being replaced by collaboration that empowered communities. Legal proceedings against Clayton's network continued generating evidence of widespread criminal activity. Victim compensation reached into the hundreds of thousands of dollars. Property rights were restored to rightful owners or their heirs. The territorial government implemented new oversight procedures to prevent future corruption schemes. Eden's personal healing accelerated as professional recognition grew. The respect she received as Chief Territorial Mining Consultant validated years of hidden knowledge and frustrated abilities. Samuel's death was finally being avenged through legitimate success rather than violent revenge. Her survival had gained meaning through service to others who had suffered similar injustices. Wyatt began planning a proper marriage proposal as their partnership solidified into permanent commitment. Eden deserved better than the cruel circumstances that had brought them together. Their future should be built on choice and affection rather than necessity and convenience. Love had grown from the ashes of a malicious joke. Wyatt chose the evening of the first successful mining operation to propose marriage. Golden sunset painted the mountains as Eden reviewed survey reports on the porch. He approached with nervous determination, carrying a simple gold band he had commissioned from recovered ore. Their partnership had grown beyond necessity into genuine love and mutual respect. Eden's acceptance came with tears of joy rather than mere relief. The proposal represented choice rather than obligation. She had found not just security but genuine affection with a man who valued her intelligence and strength. Their marriage would celebrate equality rather than dependence. Love had triumphed over the cruelest of circumstances. The wedding planning became a community celebration of redemption and transformation. Pastor Williams eagerly offered to perform the ceremony. Mrs. Henderson volunteered to organize the reception. Former enemies now competed to contribute to the festivities. The event would mark both personal happiness and social healing for Copper Falls. Lily Me designed Eden's wedding dress with extraordinary care and attention. The gown reflected dignity and beauty rather than mere fashion. Hand-sewn beadwork incorporated geological patterns honoring Eden's professional expertise. The dress symbolized artistic collaboration between women who had defied social expectations through mutual support and shared courage. The ceremony filled the church that had once hosted Eden's persecution. The same pews that had contained hostile crowds now welcomed celebrating friends. Federal officials attended alongside territorial leaders and mining executives. The gathering represented Eden's journey from rejected outsider to respected professional and beloved community member. Wyatt's vows acknowledged Eden's strength and intelligence rather than promising protection to a helpless dependent. He spoke of partnership and mutual support. Their marriage would be built on complementary abilities and shared values. Love had grown from respect and admiration rather than obligation or convenience. Eden's vows honored both Samuel's memory and her future with Wyatt. She had learned to love again without betraying her past. The ceremony celebrated new beginnings while acknowledging the journey that had brought her to this moment. Survival had led to thriving through courage, intelligence, and the support of good people. The reception showcased the community's economic transformation through cooperative mining success. Local musicians played while families danced and celebrated. Tables groaned under food contributed by grateful neighbors. The prosperity Eden's knowledge had created now supported shared festivities. Justice had produced abundance for everyone involved. Professional recognition continued expanding Eden's influence beyond territorial boundaries. Universities requested her geological surveys for academic study. Mining companies sought consulting contracts throughout the Western Territories. Government officials praised her contributions to territorial development. Her expertise finally received the acknowledgement it had always deserved. The territorial government officially appointed Eden as chief mining consultant with unprecedented authority and salary. Her geological assessments would guide development policy across multiple territories. The office came with staff support and substantial budget allocation. Professional success had exceeded even her most optimistic expectations during those dark days of persecution. Eden established the first integrated schoolhouse in territorial history. Children of all backgrounds learned mathematics, geology, and scientific methods under her instruction. Education became the foundation for lasting social change. The next generation would grow up with different assumptions about worth and capability than their parents had possessed. Her teaching methods incorporated practical geology and mining techniques alongside traditional subjects. Students learned to read land formations and identify mineral deposits. Mathematical concepts gained relevance through real-world applications. The curriculum prepared children for territorial realities while expanding their intellectual horizons beyond previous limitations. Lily Mee's expanded postal supervision created communication networks supporting justice and equality throughout the territory. Her information-gathering abilities now served official purposes. The federal government relied on her reports about local conditions and potential problems. Her talents had found appropriate recognition and legitimate application. The cooperative mining venture became a model for territorial development policy. Small-scale collaboration proved more sustainable than large corporate extraction. Local ownership ensured community benefit rather than outside exploitation. Eden's organizational principles influenced territorial law regarding mineral rights and cooperative business structures. Wyatt's leadership abilities flourished through cooperative management responsibilities. The former hermit now represented small ranchers in territorial political discussions. His practical experience combined with Eden's technical knowledge to advocate effectively for rural interests. Their partnership extended beyond personal affection to shared public service. The ranch itself became a showplace of intelligent land management and scientific agriculture. Visitors came from across the territory to observe their methods. Water conservation techniques and soil management practices were copied throughout the region. Success attracted attention that spread their influence far beyond Copper Falls. Eden's geological maps were officially displayed in the Territorial Capitol building with full professional credit. Government recognition validated her expertise and contributions to territorial development. The display honored both her scientific abilities and her courage in exposing systematic corruption. Professional legacy was now assured regardless of future circumstances. Years of persecution had been transformed into decades of respected service and personal happiness. The cruel joke that was meant to destroy both Eden and Wyatt had instead created a partnership that benefited entire communities. Love had grown from the ashes of malicious intentions. Justice had prevailed through dignity, intelligence, and unwavering moral courage. The schoolhouse bell rang as Eden called her diverse students to afternoon lessons. Children who might once have thrown stones now eagerly raised their hands to answer geological questions. The future stretched ahead with possibilities their parents had never imagined. Transformation was complete, and hope was eternal. And that is all to the story for now. Please let me know where you are tuning in from. Perhaps we will create a story there. Consider liking this video and subscribing to our channel. And if you enjoy our content, click this video on your screen. I promise you it's worth watching. See you tomorrow.